Our two experts are here with us. Nuresh Mirani of Analyze India joins in to answer all your stock queries. Hi Nuresh, thanks much for joining in. And surprise, surprise, back today after a long hiatus is Lavai Navlakhi of International Money Matters, who will be our personal finance expert this afternoon. Lavai, very good to see you after a long time. Good of you to join us today. We have a first caller on the line with us already. Pawan Sinha calls in from Chandigarh. Hi Pawan, आपका क्या सवाल है?
हेलो मैम, मेरे पास एशियन पेंट्स हैं। मैं पिछले 7 मंथ से होल्ड कर रहा हूँ। मैं फर्दर और 12 मंथ के लिए होल्ड कर सकता हूँ। मेरे क्या स्ट्रेटेजी होनी चाहिए? क्या मैं प्रॉफिट बुक कर सकता हूँ? मेरा एक्चुअली परचेजिंग प्राइस है 505 एंड मेरे क्वांटिटी है 100 शेयर।
ओके तो पहले तो आपको ये बता दें कि आपका जो आपने स्टॉक चुना है वो बहुत अच्छा है। उसने आज फ्रेश लाइफ टाइम हाई इस स्टॉक ने छुआ है। जो क्रूड प्राइसेस, जो ब्रेंट क्रूड है, उसमें आपने सुना होगा कि आजकल बहुत गिराव चल रहा है। तो ये जो न्यूज़ है ये एशियन पेंट्स ऐसी कंपनी के लिए बहुत ही अच्छी है, क्योंकि इनका ऑलमोस्ट आधा जो रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट है वो क्रूड से लिंक्ड है, तो इससे उनको काफी बेनिफिट्स होंगे। बट इसमें आपको कैसे ट्रेड करना चाहिए, फॉर दैट लेट मी टॉस इट ओवर टू Nuresh. Nuresh, what's your call on Asian Paints and what kind of levels do you see on this stock? And if you could please answer in Hindi.
अगर एशियन पेंट्स देखें तो लास्ट कुछ दिनों में बहुत सारा मूवमेंट हो चुका है और अराउंड 830 to 850 के आसपास ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ टाइम तक ये स्टॉक यही रेंज में रहेगा with an upside barrier closer to 850. तो partial booking is advised and whenever जब भी ये स्टॉक फिर से 750 के आसपास आता है तब फिर से बाई कर सकते हैं।
All right, then that's the view coming in on Asian Paints. That stock, in fact, is holding up with good gains in today's session itself. But let's go to our next query. In fact, we have Anand who writes to us from Hubli. He wants to know the difference between a fixed deposit and also a mutual fund. He also wants to know which one he should choose and why. Let's come across to you, sir. Could you help us with this particular query?
Yeah. I think people tend to compare and think of mutual funds as only being funds which invest in equity. So first and foremost, I think people should be aware that mutual funds cater to a very large asset class. There's money market, debt funds, bond funds, etc. And then people, because they compare fixed deposits and equity mutual funds, they tend to think that, there are periods when equity funds do much better and sometimes fixed deposits do much better when markets are down. So it's important for people to recognize that fact, number one. Number two, I think for each person to invest depends on really what their objectives are, what their goals are, how much risk they can afford to take, what's the type of return they require, and only after that a selection should be made. So I'm assuming that, he ultimately would decide that, mutual funds is a good bet and at least some part of his investment should go in mutual fund. I think it's very difficult to give you names of particular schemes, unless we know what type of risk profile the person has. So he must look at, if he's looking at large cap equity funds, and if he's never done mutual funds before, that's a good first bet to put into large cap equity funds. And the way to reduce the risk would typically be to, stagger the investment and not do it lump sum. Typically look at a good financial advisor who can suggest to him long-term good schemes and continuously do that investment. I really hope that answers his question. The other factor possibly that he needs to keep in mind is his tax slab, and fixed deposits, if he's in the 30% tax slab, are sort of disadvantageous compared to mutual funds.
Lavai, is there a case also now to be made for debt funds? I mean, especially for someone who's an absolutely novice investor, would you recommend some portion also being a portion to debt funds?
See, as financial advisors, we certainly recommend debt funds, but they are far more complex to understand than equity funds. So one must accept that fact. And I think the comparison always is made with fixed deposits, so where there is a fixed rate of return which is guaranteed at the start of the investment, and that what holds right through till the end. In a debt mutual funds, the rate sort of varies because the market interest rates varies on a daily basis. So there could be situations where you are not making too great sort of a return in the debt funds. But yes, from a point of view that debt funds are expected to do well when interest rates fall, and everyone is pretty much aware that India will look at a sort of dropping interest rate scenario. So from that point of view, debt funds are good. And of course, because of the tax sort of regime, you have to look at it from a 3-year perspective, and then there are certainly advantages compared to a fixed deposit.
Indrajit, who writes to us from Hyderabad, so he says that he has shortlisted some funds in which he wants to invest via the systematic investment SIP route. The funds that he has shortlisted are ICICI Prudential Focus Blue Chip Equity, HDFC Top 200 funds, and he wants to know if he has made the right decision. Lavai, both of these look to be good performing funds. You think he can go ahead, or would you want to advise something in addition to this, or perhaps a change in this?
So first and foremost, I think that he's chosen both funds which are large cap equity funds. So I'm presuming somebody has done that analysis and figured out that for him that's the asset class that he needs to be in. If he's choosing the large cap equity fund, the ICICI Focus Blue Chip is certainly a good performing fund, and I would continue with that. But instead of HDFC Top 200, there are a couple of other choices I would prefer. There's a Birla Sun Life Frontline Equity Fund, or there's a Mirae Asset India Opportunities Fund. So one of these two could be a better option to put the SIP in along with ICICI. The other question in terms of the selection would be whether he wants to have exposure to mid-cap or multi-cap funds, but one doesn't have enough information, so I really can't suggest that.
All right, then, some valid advice coming in there. But let's take a look at the Nifty currently. It's on the verge of moving to the red, and the Sensex, in fact, is already down a good 75 points. So let's pull out some of the stocks that are part of the Nifty, but they're not part of the Sensex. So if you just pull that up, you'll see that those stocks, in fact, they are struggling. So let's pull up a few of them. Few stocks, in fact, let's just pull up IndusInd Bank. They came out with a set of numbers. Now, that stock is on the verge of moving into the red. It was moving, holding with a gain of around 1%. Our stock is almost moving to the red. BHEL as well should come up for you, but the big one, there has to be ICICI Bank. Remember, that one has been moving this market, and ICICI Bank, it's a big heavyweight to them. That's moved into the red. Pull up an intraday chart of ICICI Bank. You'll see that on the back of that, that's why the Nifty is on the verge of moving to the red. That stock, in fact, is down close to around 1.3%. IndusInd Bank as well, seeing some selling pressure. Pull up L&T. That stock as well has a good weightage, and maybe, in fact, it's down close to around 0.5%. So that intraday chart as well should tell you a picture. Look at that. That one, in fact, has seen some profit booking. But finally, let's get back to our final caller today. Kapil calls us from Uttar Pradesh. He has a query on Hindalco. Hi, Kapil.
Hi, sir.
Hi. How can we help you?
सर हिंडाल्को के बारे में थोड़ा सा जानकारी लेना था मुझको। मैंने वो परचेज किया हुआ है सर 151 में।
ओके।
तो अभी मैं उसको होल्ड करूं या सेल आउट में जाऊं, क्या करूं?
और 151 में आप कितना शेयर्स लिया?
मैंने 100 शेयर परचेज किया है।
100
और
ओके 100 शेयर्स। और आप और खरीदना चाहते हैं?
हाँ, मैं सोच रहा हूँ इसमें मैं बाइंग करूं या सेलिंग में जाऊं।
ओके Naresh, what's your call on Hindalco? He's in the money. He's got only 100 shares. He wants to buy maybe around 40,000 worth of those shares more. What do you think?
So if you look at Hindalco, wherein the markets have already hit into new all-time highs, this has been a stock which has been sluggish and in a downtrend and consolidating around 140s to 160s. So I would consider to exit this stock and look into something else with a medium to longer term view. I would not like to stick with an underperforming stock in such a market.
All right, that's the word on Hindalco. But another caller on the line with us is Himanshu Sheth, who's called in from Mumbai. Hi, Himanshu, go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Go ahead. Tell us what's your question.
Yeah. सर मैंने सिप्ला का 5 शेयर्स लिए हैं एट द रेट ऑफ 520, तो मुझे और भी 100 शेयर्स लेने हैं, तो कैन आई बाय इट एट दिस प्राइस?
Okay, Naresh, a lot of these pharma companies are doing well in trade today, and Cipla, of course, has been a good performing company itself. What's your advice? Is it a good idea to average at these levels?
If you look at Cipla, this has been in a strong uptrend right from the times it broke into all-time highs around 450, 470 levels. We continue to like the stock, and we expect a target price of 750 or higher in the medium to long term. So I would say any dips from current levels or even at current levels, it's a buy. So one can buy and hold for the next 6 to 12 months and expect a good move.
Okay, Naresh, you have any disclosures?
No personal positions in the stock discussed.
All right, Naresh, thanks very much for joining in and advising all our viewers. Thanks also to Levi, and I hope we get to see a lot more of you, Levi, in the days to come. Thanks.